Hi, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Omar Mahmood. I am from Thomson Reuters. I'm a product specialist there. Today's session, I'm going to be doing a training session on two of our platforms. The first being Westlaw Asia, and then the second one being Thomson Reuters Westlaw. Has anyone used Westlaw before? No? Okay, fine. So I'm going to start off with Westlaw Asia right now. So please keep in mind that I think you don't have access to Westlaw Asia at this moment in time, but you will at a certain point. But I'm still going to start off showing you Westlaw Asia. And there's going to be a lot of overlap between what I talk about in Westlaw Asia and in Thomson Reuters Westlaw. So for the most part of the session, I will be talking about Westlaw Asia, and then I'll move on to Thomson Reuters Westlaw. But please bear in mind there will be some overlap because they are very similar platforms. Now, this is your Westlaw Asia homepage. When you come onto the homepage, depending on your subscription, you will have access to these jurisdictions that are shown here. So it does depend on what you subscribe to. So I have access to everything. So, but when you have a subscription, what you need to do on the homepage is, for example, if you're searching for content in, say, the UK on the homepage, you select the UK. If you have more than one jurisdiction, say, for example, Hong Kong or Malaysia, you would select them to search. So if you just want to search across one jurisdiction, you can do that and just leave it like this. Now, on the homepage, you can search across what we call many different content types. Now, the content types are cases, legislation, commentary, which is an add-on, which is our books, which I'll show you anyway. Then we have journals, current awareness, and news. So on the homepage now, what I'm going to do first is I'm going to search across, say, Hong Kong and the UK. And on this drop-down menu, you can see that I'm choosing all. So what that means is I'm searching across all these different content types, from cases all the way to current awareness. I'm just going to leave it all. And when you do a search on your Westlaw Asia homepage, you can just going to ask it a question first. Say, for example, what is a trademark? Searching across Hong Kong and the UK. Now, the reason I'm showing you this is because when you do a search like this on the homepage, you can sometimes get thousands of results. And in this case, I believe you're going to get over 4,000 results. If you just wait for the page to load. Now, you can see here that I have gotten over 4,000 results, and that's a lot of results. You want to make it smaller. So I go back, and when I go back, I just click on Edit My Search. Now, what I've done right now is a basic search. Over here to the right-hand side, you will see something called natural language. If I click on natural language, and I do the same search across the same two jurisdictions, and I search, this natural language search will now bring back less results. And these results will be based on terms of what are the best cases, for example. What is the best legislation that talks about this? Or what are the best journals? And as you can see now, I only have 100 results. And these are the best 100 results in the jurisdictions that you searched. So this is a very good place to start. And it's a good way to make your searches, for your search results, much smaller. So as you can see here, I've asked it a question, and it's highlighted the main word that I'm looking for, which is trademark. So wherever it appears, you can see now it's been highlighted. And a good place to start your search is to look through, say, the first 20 to 25 results. And then if you don't find anything there, then I would go into each content type and do more deeper advanced searching. So this is how you do a search on the home page. And if you don't find anything you want here, or if you want to find something specific, like say, for example, a certain case, you can do that. So at the top here, you have your different content types. I'm going to click on cases now, and the rest of the session for Westlaw Asia is going to be me talking about these tabs here. So I'm just going to click on cases, and here now you can do more advanced searches for cases. Now, the first thing I do when I click on cases is I go straight to advanced search. We're here on the right-hand side. And what this does is that it gives me much more search options. And you can fill as many of these as you want, or as many of these as you can. So, say for example, I want to look at something for privacy. I only know one party name, so I'm just going to put it. And if you know the legislation title, or if you know the court or the judge or the dates, you can put this all in. And what it will do is that it will combine your search results and give you a narrow search. So I want to search for, say, privacy and this party name. And say you don't know the name of the second party. I'm just going to do a search now. So with advanced searching and with these type of filters, I now only have 2 results. So this is a UK case that went all the way up to the House of Lords in 2007. And it was about a privacy case where one newspaper photographed a celebrity couple in the privacy of their own homes. So it went all the way up to the House of Lords. So on the right-hand side here where it says documents, where it says 2008, 2007, these are the transcripts of the case. I'm going to click on case analysis here. And what case analysis will do is that it's primarily available for the jurisdictions of Australia, New Zealand, Hong Kong, and the UK. And it is growing for other jurisdictions that we have on Westlaw Asia. But for now, these 4 are the main ones. Now, what case analysis does is that our team behind the scenes in Westlaw give you a good case analysis where we tell you things such as the appeal history here on the left-hand side. So you can see the appeal, how it started off in the first court, where it was reversed in the higher court, and then again reversed in the House of Lords, which is the highest court in the UK. Here you have significant cases cited. So what this means is that when the judges made their judgment, they cited these previous cases that came before, saying that these apply. You also have key cases citing, which is a wonderful feature. So these are cases that have come after this case. And those judges in those cases said that this case has relevant information and we're going to apply it to our case that happened maybe 2 or 3 years later or 10 years later. You also have things like legislation cited, where it shows you the legislation that the judges used when formulating their judgment. And all of these links that you see here, you can click into them and it will open it up on Westlaw Asia. So you can go and see what other cases we have relating to this. One final thing I want to show you about case analysis is that we have something here at the bottom called graphical history. Now, what graphical history is basically a diagram, and one of the reasons I selected this case is because you can see how big this case actually was and how it progressed through the courts. One final thing to note about cases is that at the top here, you'll see a green sign where it says positive or neutral judicial treatment. And what this means is that this is good law. So you can be confident that this law that you're citing in your cases, you can use it when making an argument, basically. Here at the bottom, I'm going to show you previous cases. If you see a green sign here, if you see a yellow sign, that means, instead of this, if you see a yellow sign, that means there's an appeal. So be cautious when citing this case. And if you see a red sign, it means that it has negative treatment or it's been overturned by a higher court. Now, does anyone have any questions about cases? Okay, I'm going to talk about something else now. Does anyone know what the terms and connector is? Okay, does anyone have this problem? Like, has anyone used Westlaw before? Or Lexis or any of those platforms? Anyone? Use Westlaw. So did you ever have a problem where when you do a search, you come back with too many search results and you want to filter it? Like you want to get back less results. Now, in the help section here at the top, and this is something that takes a lot of time, like it took me maybe a month or so to learn this, and back in law school, I wish I knew this, because it would have saved me hours of time doing research. So in the help section, you have something called terms and connectors. Now, what these are is these are ways that you use to filter your search results. So you have things like quotation marks, you have things like search within the same sentence /s, or within the same paragraph /p. So to give you an example now, I want to search for, let's say, fiduciary duty. Okay, this is the duties of shareholders, good faith duties that shareholders owe. Now, if I search this as it is, it's going to search for one word, fiduciary, and then the other word, duty, wherever they appear in the document. One fiduciary can appear at the first word of the document, and duty can appear in the middle or the end. It doesn't matter. But you want to search these words together. So say, for example, I do this search. I'm going to come back with over 4,000 results, that's for sure. Now, a way to filter your results, and by the way, this might not work right now, but say I put this in quotation marks. Now, what this does, now that I put fiduciary duty in quotation marks, it will search for fiduciary and duty, how they appear in the quotation marks. So it will search for them together. Now, because I haven't put anything else here, it still could mean that I could get thousands and thousands of results. But later on, when you start filling these things out, it will start filtering your results more. Now, just for another example, I want to look for litigation and arbitration. If I do a search, again, I will get over 4,000 results. And there are ways that you can now filter it. So with terms and connectors, see 4,000 results. Going back now, I want to search for litigation within the same paragraph as arbitration. So I do /p. So doing the search, I think I'll get about 3,500 results now. Still 500 results less, but you want to filter it even more. But still, now I have filtered it more. And then I want to search for something more. So let's say, for example, I want to search for interim measure within the same sentence as varied. So now I'm searching within my results, and using terms and connectors, let's try something else. Shares as vote. So again, I will be searching within this results. And now, as you can see, I have now filtered it down from 3,500 results to 27 results. Here on the left-hand side, you can further filter your results. So if I filter here by content type, it's just cases, because I'm searching within cases. But I can also filter it by jurisdiction. So now, for example, I just want to search for cases within Hong Kong. So from 27 results, I go down to 6 results. So this is just one way of filtering your results on Westlaw Asia. And like I said, in your help section here at the top, click on it and scroll down, and you can see what terms and connectors you have. And you can combine, I combine up to 3 to 4 connectors within the same sentence, litigation within the same paragraph as arbitration, and then interim measures within the same sentence as varied. That way you can just keep filtering your results. Now, does anyone have any question about searching or cases? Okay, sure. I'm now going to move on to legislation. So with legislation, depending on what you've subscribed to, you have your search at the top here, and at the bottom you have you can browse whichever jurisdictions you've subscribed to. So for example, I can go in here and search Malaysia legislation, just start browsing and do some more advanced searching. So for example, if I just go into Malaysia, now my search will only be for Malaysian legislation. If I go back on the home page, depending on what you're subscribed to, you will search for legislation that you are subscribed to. Now, I want to show you a little piece of legislation called, in England, the Arbitration Act 1996. And for the UK and for Hong Kong, what we have is we have historic law versioning and we have future law versioning as well. So what that means is that you can go back to a certain point in time, and if a law has been repealed, you can actually go back and see what the text of that law was. And for the UK in particular, if you have a piece of law or section that's going through the government and is about to be passed at, say, 2019, you will be able to see what the text of that law is as well. So looking at the Arbitration Act 1996, oh, sorry. Now at the top here, I can download a PDF of the entire Act. I want to go a little bit deeper though. On the left-hand side, like you have with cases, you have green, orange, yellow, and red icons. Now what the green icons means is that the law is in force. If you see an orange icon, what this says is that it's not yet in force. You see a yellow icon, it means that there are amendments that are coming soon. And if you see a red icon, it means that it has been repealed. So I want to go and show you two, for example. So I'm going to look at one which has been repealed and one which is not yet in force, but will come into force at a certain later date in time. Looking at the one that's been repealed, it will tell you when it's been repealed, on 22nd July 2004. And you can see here that this is version 2 of 2. So there's no text here. If I click on this arrow next to this version 2 of 2, going back, now what it will do, it will tell me this version has been in force since 31st January 97, all the way to 21st July 2004. And you can read the text of when the law was still good law. Looking at one which has been not yet in force, it will tell you that a date has been yet to be appointed, and it will also tell you when we have an idea of when it's going to be published, we will update it automatically. Here you can read the text of the law to see what Parliament has said that this section should say, basically. One final thing to note about legislation analysis, legislation, is like case analysis, we have something called legislation analysis. So, like case analysis, this will give you cases, for example, which have cited this particular section. So if you're looking at section 61 of the Arbitration Act, which has to do with the awards of costs, and you want to find cases that talk about this particular section, on the left-hand side, you have something called All Cases Citing. Just clicking on it, it will give me a list of cases that have talked about this particular section. And like I said, if there's anything that you want to browse, you can do so. One other thing you should be aware of is that for Myanmar, Cambodia, and Indonesia, we have recently published about 230 translated pieces of legislation. This has just come out this year on Westlaw Asia. Going into Cambodia, for example, you can go inside and you can see what areas of law we have available. Keep browsing. And you can see the articles here. And here we have translated the legislation for you as well. Next, I want to move on to commentary. And by the way, if anyone does have any questions, please feel free to ask me. Moving on to commentary, you can do a search across what titles you have, and commentary basically means books. Now, this is an add-on in Westlaw Asia. So, again, I have access to all of them. But I want to show you what we have for, say, Malaysia and the UK. And when we say books, we mean full text books. So you'll have to browse each one by chapter, but it is available for you. So in Malaysia, we have, I believe, over 60 to 70 titles. Just by clicking on it, I'm following it through. You can now read chapters of a book. And it's divided by sections, so just by clicking on the next section, I can just start browsing and reading these books. We have a lot of content here for different jurisdictions. Our strongest ones are the UK, Hong Kong, Malaysia, and we have growing titles all across other jurisdictions as well. So for the UK, for example, we have, currently on mine, I have over 45 books. And we have others coming later on in the coming year. Next, I'm going to move on to journals. Now, in journals, you will have access to full-text journals, and we'll also have legal abstracts, which is basically, it'll just give you a summary of the articles. But how you can tell, for example, so if I say want to search the Hong Kong Law Journal, and again, you can do a search of this, but I want to show you for the UK, we have journals dating back to 1986. For Hong Kong, we have it dating back to 1988. This one in particular, 1997. So say I want to look at one from 2009. And browse a certain article. On the left-hand side here, you can see that it's written a full-text article. If it's not a full-text article, on the left-hand side, it will be written, say, for example, a legal abstract. And as you can see here, we have the full text of the article available for you. Current awareness is a very useful section because it is updated every single day. And what I recommend is that when you're doing research on a particular topic, you want to be confident that what you're researching is up to date. So current awareness is where you would come to figure out whether what you're searching on, say, for company law or family law or employment law, you've done research on a case that may be 10, 15 years old, but you want to know if it's still good law. Current awareness is where you would come to find out if what you're researching is up to date. What I normally do is that I go straight to a particular section and I look at the most recently added and look at the highlights over the last 28 days. And what this contains is newspaper articles and news wires, which will give you an abstract of a certain topic. And it will also give you a link to a news article. Which you can click on and it will take you to that page. What you will also have on your Westlaw Asia subscription is access to articles that are published in The Economist. And this is part of your subscription. Now, does anyone have any questions about Westlaw Asia? Okay. Now, I'm going to move on to Thomson Reuters Westlaw, which I do believe most of you have access to right now. Okay. Has anyone used, I'm just going to call it Westlaw. Has anyone used Westlaw before? No? Okay. Now, like I mentioned, in Westlaw, when there's going to be a lot of overlap with what I just talked about with Thomson Reuters Westlaw, with Westlaw Asia. What you should know is that when you sign on to Thomson Reuters Westlaw, on your homepage, this is your homepage, everything you search here will be for US materials. And I will take you to a section which is called International Materials, which you can access here. It contains these jurisdictions, Australia to the UK, and we also have other international jurisdictions. Our content is not that big as compared to the other international jurisdictions, but we do have some content available. Now, question, for using Westlaw, are you more focused towards, say, US materials, or do you want to see international materials as well? Okay, should I do both? Yep, okay. So when you're doing a search on the search bar, what you're going to do is a search from cases all the way to arbitration materials. When you do a search, automatically what happens here is that you're going to search for all state and all federal materials. You can filter that out. You can select up to 3 states. So for example, I want to search for New York and Connecticut. You can filter your search results that way. But by searching for all states, it will only search for state materials. If you want to look for federal materials as well as state materials, at the bottom you can just say include federal materials as well. You can further filter it out by courts or by circuits as well, which is just subdivisions of courts. I want to keep it as all state, all federal. And now I'm going to do a search for something. And now it's going to do a search from cases all the way to arbitration materials. Now, like Westlaw Asia, on the left-hand side, you will have access to your filters. At the top here, you'll see an overview of 14 cases. Now, what these 14 cases are is like a natural language search. This is your best results. So coming from the cases to statutes to trial court documents, it will give you the best results that you need to know about your search right here. Looking at cases, I'm going to take you into a particular case. There's going to be a little bit of a difference in the green, yellow, and red icons. Over here, we have something called a key site flag, and it's yellow. Now, what this means that it has some negative treatment, but it is still good law. If you see something with a red icon, that means that it has a lot of negative treatment. And if you see something with a blue icon, that means that there is an amendment pending. So looking at this case, Helling versus McKinney, it has some negative treatment, but it is still good law. When you click on that case, you can read the entire synopsis of the case. If you see this bracket here, which highlights this particular section with the arrow, what this basically means is that whatever you have searched for, now it is telling you that within this section right here, this is most relevant to what you have searched. So over here, they will talk about prisoner exposure. It'll look for the word smoke. But it will also look for words that are related to exposure and secondhand smoke, for example. So it might look for things like lung cancer, for example. Or for exposure, it will look for variations or on the word exposure as well. But now it has come and told you that this particular section is the most relevant to your search. At the top here in the tabs, you can see where it has negative treatment. So now it will give you a list of cases that have come afterwards, and the judges have talked about it. So in Mills versus Clark, the judges have said that it's not relevant in this case, and we're not going to enforce the law in this case. And here on the right-hand side, you can see some head notes, and these head notes are where the case that has come after has talked about the case we are looking at right now. In Bell versus Norwood, this case has the most negative treatment of the current case we are looking at. So again, you can look at it and be very cautious when citing this type of case. We also have something called filings, which will be very useful later on in your career, where you can see what documents were submitted to the court. So you will have transcripts of an oral argument, you will have replies by opposing parties, and we'll also have other types of submissions to the courts. Just by clicking on any of these, you can read the text, and I guarantee you in the future that these type of templates that you have available, you're going to be using them a lot in your future careers. So you can come and you can read and you can get some inspiration on when you're drafting something in law firms later on in your career. Just one final thing to show you about cases. So I talked about the blue and the red tabs. Here you can see a red tab with the most negative treatment. And further down, there will be a case with a blue flag, which just basically means that there's an amendment pending. If you want to search for any statutes about this case as well, you can filter it down just by clicking on statutes. And here you can see legislation from states or from federal or from the government, which talks about secondhand smoke and any liability that comes from it. If you want to go back to your home page, wherever you see this logo where it says Thomson Reuters Westlaw, just click on it and it will take you back to your home page. One final thing I want to talk to you about US materials is we have something called key numbers. Now, what key numbers are is these are the backbone of Thomson Reuters Westlaw. And as you can see here, we have a list from 1 all the way up to 414. And what these are is that these are different areas of law. So if you want to find something about abortion and birth control, and you want to find all the materials that we have on it, for example, just by clicking on this, you will get subtopics. Say, for example, health and safety of a patient. It will be assigned a key number just by clicking on it. Now you can see all the materials we have, from news to dockets to cases to legislation. Here you can come and further find out more about the subtopic. So it's just a way of saving you time from searching. So now that I've talked about US materials, now I'm going to move on to international materials. So you can see international materials here on the right-hand side. One final thing to note, here you can see I've searched from all content here. You can filter your search by federal materials across different courts, across different states. So you can now go into each individual state and search individually. You can search by practice area as well. But now I'm going to move on to international materials, which you can see on the right-hand side here of this line. Clicking on international materials will now take me to a new page, where now everything I search in this page is now under international materials. So you have this on the home page with US materials as well, but I wanted to show you here on international materials, you have something called advanced here on the right-hand side. So this is like advanced searching, but what it does here is now it gives you a list of terms and connectors here on the right-hand side, very similar to Westlaw Asia. And whatever you type in here, it will now filter out your results. So for example, I want to look at these phrases, knife, and this phrase, torture. And as you can see here on the top here in my search, it will automatically search for knife and torture. But I want to exclude this term, murder. Now automatically the percentage signs means that do not include this term, and at the top here now you can see that we have automatically included your terms and connectors for you. By clicking on search, now everything I will search from this point on will include knife, being tortured with a knife, but someone not being murdered. Now you can read different cases. Filter from the left-hand side, you'll see journals talking about it. Treatises, we mean books. Different legislation and cases as well. Going back to international materials now. When I searched everything here, it's going to search across all my jurisdictions, from Australia to UK, and across all my content types. If I want to search for, say, things from Australia, I can do so. By clicking on Australia, now I will search for everything Australia has, from cases all the way to forms. You can go into each individual law report and do a search, further filtering out your search, or you can just search for something broad here on. Or if you just want to search for cases across all jurisdictions, you can do that by clicking on cases. And now it will search across all of these jurisdictions. Further filter your search results, for example, by going in a search. We also have Chinese judgments available for Hong Kong, which you can click on. And this is also available on Westlaw Asia. Here you can conduct a search, and again you'll have access to your advanced searching here. Now, does anyone have any questions about Thomson Reuters Westlaw? Okay, now I'm assuming everyone is being silent. Are you all experts at using Westlaw now? Okay, all right. Well, if you have any questions, feel free to ask me now or after this session. That concludes our training session. What I'm going to do is that with your librarian staff, I'm going to leave my details there. I didn't have any cards with me. But what I'm going to do is I'll leave my details with them. If you have any questions about the platform, if you want to help finding any certain cases or any different types of materials, I'd be happy to help you. You can always send me an email and I'll respond as soon as possible. So thank you very much for your time, and I hope you enjoy your use of Westlaw. Thank you.